So I had the question, how do I go about having animated text on the screen for, like conversations between characters and things like that? How do I get it to be shown letter by letter? And so this video is going to show you how to do that. And the idea is that we create an object and some code that will pass in an array of strings, and then we'll take the substring, just like a certain portion of that string, and then wait a period of time, and then increase the portion that we're showing by one character, wait, and then increase the portion by one character and wait until we're done. That's the whole idea of how we do that. So it's not too bad. Set some timers, or set a timer, walk through your string, and when you get to the very end, then you're done. So it'll take a little bit to set this up. This is just a 2D project with all the defaults selected. And we're going to create a couple things in here. We're going to create some UI. So we'll create text. And our canvas, we're going to set to screen space camera, just like we've done in the past. And I'll drag my main camera over there. Canvas scaler, we will set to scale with screen size. And our text here, I'm just going to drag it up here a little bit. And let's see, our main camera, I've already set it to a white background, so we'll be able to see this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an empty game object, and we'll call it animated dialogue. And I'm going to create a C# script that's going to go along with it. And we can just call it animated dialogue. And I will drag that over to it. And so, what we need in this script is we need a reference to this text object on the screen. And let me click on this for a sec. And we may have some extremely long text, so I'm just going to drag this thing down like this. And it will actually wrap very nicely. If we have a string that goes longer than one line, it'll automatically wrap it and fall down here on a space. So that'll look really nice. So in our script, we'll have to have a reference to this text object, and then we'll have to have like an array of strings that we want this thing to say. So let me open this thing up. There we go. So what we're going to have in here first, we need to use UnityEngine.ui as well, because that's where our libraries are for dealing with the text. And we'll have a public text, we can call it text area. And then we'll need a public string, call it strings. And so this is going to be the array of text that we need to draw to the screen. And then we'll have the speed, public speed equals 0.1f. So we'll just set that to, I'll just make it up at 1/10 of a second right now. Oh, this is going to be a float. And we'll set it to 1/10 of a second for now. And if that works good, then we'll leave it. If not, we can modify that within Unity. All right, so we have these things. I'm going to save this and just bring in my text right now. So in my animated dialogue, now we've got this strings array here that we have. It's currently set to size of 0. So I'm going to, make that a 5. And I'll just copy in some lines from a speech I'm preparing. And here we go. So I just have these in a notepad. And I'll just copy all these in. There's only 5 of them. There we go. And so we're going to display these one at a time and then pause and wait for some sort of input from the player, and then move on to the next one. And if we get through all of them, we'll just leave that last one on the screen. That's the idea. So there we go. These are in there. Let's go back to this thing. And so now this, all of our strings are populated now with the strings that I just copied in there. And so we're going to do a couple things here. We're going to need to set up some variables. For example, we need to keep track of our index into the strings array. So which one of those sentences are we actually displaying right now? So we'll just say int string index equals 0. We're going to start at 0. And then the other thing we need to keep track of is which character are we displaying, because we want it to sort of just spell things out and keep adding one character at a time. So as we go through these loops, we need to know which character we're actually displaying. So we'll have an int character index equals 0. And let's see. So I don't think we're going to end up doing anything. Oh yeah, we will do some stuff in update. We'll look for some key presses. But right now we're going to have an IE enumerator display timer. And this is going to be our character delay. So as we're waiting to write the next character, we're going to be stuck in this thing. So we'll have a while loop. We're going to kind of loop forever. We'll put some conditions on this here in a sec. But for right now, we'll just sit in a while loop forever. And what we want to do is a yield return new wait for seconds, and we've done this before, and the amount of time that we're going to wait is speed. And that way we can tweak speed inside of Unity if we need to. But for the most part, we'll come in here, we're just going to wait for speed, which is our character delay, and then we'll start drawing our characters on the screen. So what we want to say is text area dot text, that's what we're modifying, equals strings of string index. Which sentence are we trying to show? Index. Dot substring. We only want to show a piece of the string, and the parameters for substring is our starting index, which is going to be 0, and our length, which will be our character index. Right. And then we're going to increment our character index. So let's look at what we have here. We're not quite done, but we're almost done. We're going to come in here. Actually, let's start this timer too. Let's just put it inside of start. So you're not going to start the coroutine in your game until it's time to show this, like a conversation or some transition dialogue or something like that. But just to show how we're going to do this, I'm just going to stick it into start. So as soon as we run the scene, we'll be able to see it. So we'll do a start coroutine, and it'll be display timer. Like that. And that's going to let us start this thing right away when we go. And we come down here. We're going to wait, in this case, 0.1 seconds. So we'll be displaying 10 characters a second. And as we go through this while loop here, we will be incrementing the character index every time we go through this loop, which will walk ourselves through this string that we're showing. So right now our string index is set to 0, so we will only be showing the first string, and we're showing a substring of that first string, which starts at 0 because we're always going to start at the beginning, and the length of it is the character index. Then we increment our character index by 1, and the next time through the loop we show one more letter, and it's just going to walk through it like that. So let's see. Let's put something here. Once this character index is all the way to the end of our string, we don't want to keep incrementing it because we'll be out in space. So I'm just going to put a check in front of this to just say, if we've already shown the entire sentence to not do anything. So I'll say something like if character index is greater than strings of string index dot length. We don't need to do anything, so for now I'm just going to say continue. And what a continue is going to do is going to bring us back to the top of this while loop. So we'll still be in here. We'll still be doing this yield return, wait for speed, even though we're not drawing anything. And yeah, maybe that's not the most efficient way to do it, but it's going to work okay for this. We can put some more brains into this if we want to, and start this coroutine when we need to. But for now, it's going to work okay by just doing it this way. Okay, so the other thing that we're going to need to do, so this is going to look really good. Let's see what happens if we run this thing. I think it'll probably work. Here's my animated dialogue. Our text area is currently set to none, so I'm going to drag over this text object into there, and let's run it and see what happens. There it goes. So it's actually typing out the first sentence, and hopefully this is going to be long enough that I can show you that it'll wrap to the next line, which it does. So there it goes. A couple things that this is not doing. We're not going to go to the second sentence, and it doesn't support the impatient player. So, if you play like I do and you start seeing these things on the screen, you want to bash on a button to get all the text on the screen quickly so you can read it fast and move on. Some people like to watch it get displayed out like this, and that's fine. But I always give the player an option to quickly skip through all that stuff. So we're going to look for the space bar inside of our update loop. So if input dot get button down, key code dot space, and this is going to serve two functions, right? So if it's in the middle of spelling out a sentence, hitting the space bar is just going to fill everything in. It's not going to keep walking through letter by letter. And if the sentence is already done and on the screen, hitting the space bar is going to increment us to our next sentence. So first, we're going to check and say if we're in the middle of writing out a sentence, so that in that case our character index is less than strings of string index dot length. Okay, so what are we going to do in that case? Then we'll just say our character index equals strings of string index current sentence dot length. Just set it to the end. And so that's gonna what's gonna happen is after we do this, the next time we go through this while loop, we should show all of it. And down here we'll say else if string index is less than strings of strings dot length. Sorry. So in this case, we are going to make sure if we end up in this else, we're going to switch to our next sentence. And so what we need to do, make sure, is just do a double check to make sure that we're not already showing the last sentence. So if string index is less than strings dot length, then we can do something, and we can say string index plus plus and character index equals 0. Right, so we're going to increment to our next string and then set our current character to 0, so it'll start drawing it over again. So let's see how this works. Here we go. Oops. Oh, this should be input.get key down, not get button down. There we go. So it starts spelling it out. I'll hit the space bar and it jumps all the way to the end, just like it should. And if I hit the space bar one more time, it should start spelling out the next line, which it does. So this is a quick way to get some animated text on the screen. And again, you can tweak the speed. If you just want to turn it down a little bit, it'll go a lot faster. Like, let's say you want to go to that. And you could play a sound each time you write. Each time you do this, you could play a sound and it would sound like ding, 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 just some kind of noise coming out as it's coming out letter by letter. So yeah, you can make this thing much fancier, but at least this gives you the gist of how to do it.